group of 7 kids go to summer camp. The last thing they expect is the snow falling in July. And the confusion that follows this phenomenon, they each receive an odd device to transport them to another world. As soon as they wake up in this new world, they are encountered strange creatures who call themselves Digimon. The Digimon then tell them that they landed in the digital world, far from home. With only the Digimon and their Digivices as protection, the 7 children set off to find their way home and learn the reason why they were brought here. Led by the impulsive Takashi Yamaji and his hungry Digimon partner Agumon, this group will fight unknown evils as they discover more about this outlandish digital world. This anime has about 54 episodes. It premiered March 7, 1999 to March 26, 2000. It has tons of spin-offs, which such as Digimon Saviors, Digimon Tamers, Digimon Frontier, Digimon Exclusion, Digimon Exo Wars, along the sequel called Digimon Adventures Bakugo no War Game, along with Digimon movies, a side story, and other spin-offs as well, and video games and mobile games as well in the franchise. It is action, adventure, comedy, and fantasy. Demographic was for all ages and 24 minutes per episode and rated PG. So let's get started into the review. As I will say, Digimon was one of the shows that I love. There's always that power dynamic that's always discussed as a Pokemon ripoff, and I think Digimon really, during that time frame, really struggled to find its audience. But overall, I think, being a fan of both Pokemon and Digimon, I don't see how it's impossible to like both shows. At the time, I did love Pokemon and Digimon. They do have their very similar similarities, but they're vastly different between the creatures who they happen in the same genre. Overall, I think, the whole premise of these 7 kids going to summer camp for the summer and not really like interacting with the group of kids that they have until they're all transported into this world, this digital world to be a fact, and meet these Digimon, short for digital monster, they evolve called Devolution. And, they have this really cute, like, 6 stages of the baby and training the rookie, the champion, the ultimate, and the mega. And, that was how like the characters evolved and grown in the series, being 51 episodes. That's how they always gone to each stage in the show. And I think also, in reality, I think Digimon goes much deeper than that. And I think it was much different than other shonen shows at the time. It did still retain their fairly, frankly, cliche plot, but I think in different ways, it would play what helps them separate from other cliche plots. That doesn't automatically make, Digimon's writing perfect in terms of the story. There are always going to be flaws, but let's make it be real. It was more watchable or tolerable than other similar shows. And, there will be, as the 7 kids later on eventually will grow, end up going to the digital world where they meet their Digi partners. And however, these kids end up discovering or rediscovering themselves as characters to be better people. And, as the friendship kept growing with each different series and spin-offs and franchises of each character, they always had a very strong character development. Even though the Digimon technically doesn't change during that time, they are the catalyst of that pushing force to make these characters become stronger and rely on their partners and their inner strength to form this type of teamwork based learning. And along the lines, the phrase believe me and who believes in you. I think also why these kids were sent to the digital world kind of answers that question if you watch the show. I won't go into too much detail why they were chosen in particular and why they were sent there to begin with. But I think overall, after the typical friendship and teamwork circle, the Digimon are not afraid to tackle such heavy themes such as death, divorce, adoption, fear of losing a loved one. And for a kid show, especially at that time, it approached them with very heavy maturity. And, it wasn't done at the time, so I think overall, when you watch it from sub to dub, the 4 kids, did touch on the subject where it was produced on that time in the United States and over again. There are a lot of stuff to say in the script stuck to the original aspect of it, and then also just took some and just changed it just a little, some of the themes and atmosphere that the series remains what it is today. And whether you chose to watch it in sub or dub, it's completely up to you because either choices are fine, but sometimes they have both their cons and advantages to that. But I think overall, with the show being in the 90s, the Digimon had a very small budget and it was produced by Toei Animation. So, overall, you had stock animation that ran rapid through the series. There were off-model moments. There were other animation errors. But, as a kid, you technically don't really know this till you get really older, and you don't really care about the show's budget because you watch it for the pure action and the color of what is the Digimon and the digital world that they're in. Test the digital background the kids did or like when their Digimon kind of digivolve or other than when the monsters are injured defeated, they digitize basically. I think also it was a good stylistic choice for the show, especially with the characters on are very unique to the series, and everyone, is very drawn differently with their hair, their eyes, their shoes, their feet. Mind you, some of them kind of act really weird. And also the monsters are very from Digimon and Digimon, which helped them stick out from other anime, which I thought was really nice to pave the way for a lot of merchandise that came suit with Digimon. I still remember having a Gatomon trading card. I don't know what happened to it, but I'm very upset that I lost it. But now that I find out I can buy more Digimon trading cards, you best believe I am going to buy and rebuild my Digimon collection with the last thing I do. But getting back to the review, I think also along with the transformation, along with Digimon, in particular, with the CGI, wasn't bad as a kid. We thought that was really cool growing up. And also, like, with the sound effects were very generic, but with the Digivices, we all wanted Digivices as a kid. Don't get me wrong, I really wanted a Vice so I can, Digivolve Gatomon because she was my favorite. Like, not gonna lie, she was my favorite Digimon. But overall, the sounds were lovely. The intro and the outer sounds were spot on for the show. I kind of still like sing some things like in my head every now and then. And I just have to catch myself. I'm like, wait, yes, childhood reminiscence. But other than that, I think the voice acting was pretty solid on for the original, And I think thankfully, as the franchise, grow as a unit, and it's still growing as we speak. There's a new Digimon anime series out right now, which you bet I will watch it to see, what these new cast of characters have to bring to what we watch as the original. But giving it back to the voice actors in the original English dub was surprisingly pronounced with the great voice cast. Yes, being a late 90 kids, had the English script and the soundtrack took a bit of for the directors and voice actors to get comfortable with the show because they were able to bring these characters to life in their own special way. And I feel like that's the whole point of voice acting and bringing the characters we're so used to growing up with, known and loved. I think also what Digimon truly sticked out as a show is very uncommon to find a show with equally complex and diverse of cast of characters. And as Digimon Adventure, these 7 and soon to be 8 kids made the show, even their own Digimon, are good characters in their own right and served as a good foil in partnership with their human companionship. Now, the following characters, Tai for English, but in Japanese, Tachiyami, is supposed to be like the leader of the group who acts before he thinks. And then you have Matt, who's the cool-headed big brother of the lone wolf type persona. Then you have Sora Takeuchi, or in English, Izzy, the motherly tomboy. And then you have Mimi Takahiro, a spoiled rich kid who never hesitates to speak her mind. Then you have Joe, the more down to earth kid, and then you have TK, Matt's younger brother, who provides more of an innocent outlook on the world, and Kairi is Ty's younger sister, who's a good natured and soft spoken. But I think each of the characters and their backstory, they have their own well inner demons, and among the 8 that we see on screen can be more relatable to the audience itself. As I kind of relate to each one of these kids, in an aspect, and many of them struggle to become better and more mature kids, but they weren't alone. The Digimons who were their partner, like Agumon, Gatomon, Paimon, Tenmon, Palamon, Gatomon, you see where I'm going here. They too grow with their partners, and as characters, they all have their own unique personalities, And although Gatomon, possibly Paimon, Patamon, but I feel like had the biggest major depth of character development, but overall the main roles of the Digimon partner was to protect and be supportive of their human partnership as they fulfill their duties and their mission, basically. And like any other like in Pokemon, the big mascot of the franchise, they were just a piece of data because they're from the digital world, which is arguably just data. Now, while there were some Digimons who didn't have human partners, they also played a very important role in the story, perhaps more than the human protagonists. Like, can't really go for too much examples. I don't give too much away. You haven't seen it, but if you have, props to y'all. I will say there are a lot of Digimon like Leomon, Pixelmon, Wizardmon, and these characters had a lot of deep depth that made the story arc even progress even more, despite them being only in a few episodes at least. They are memorable to this day that true Digimon fans have never truly forgotten. I think also several mentioned that goes part from this being a kid show of how it has been progressing over the momentum of the years, and it's still expanding as we speak. It was really a good show to enjoy, and even people who watched it then versus new generations going to watch the Digimon now, they have something to look forward to and maybe not experience the same experience that we went through when watching this show. But I think having kids go out and save the world without knowing that is what they have to do and to put your fully trust in them, and that was a spot on way to tell a story. And even with some of this mature thing I did talk about in the show, it did help kind of break it down, but help the kids mature and to realize, you know, that this is what they have to do. And this is like the struggle obstacle that they had to face to be down that brighter path. But having like 54 episodes of this was stellar and spot on, and I was just a thrill to watch. But definitely check out Digimon Happen for yourself. I did also another video on Digimon Digitamer. If you haven't seen that video, check it out on my channel and let me know what you think. Let me know, comment down below, what Digimon was your favorite. I will say Gatomon was my favorite, but I will say Patamon was also my favorite because come on, Angemon, come on now. But thanks for tuning in this review. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time for another anime review. But until then, bye.